Today, I wanted to do the intercepts classwork. So often when you graph lines, you want to know what the x-intercept and the y-intercept is going to be. So the x-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. So I'm going to write where the graph crosses the x-axis. And we're going to find this by letting y equal 0. We're going to find this by letting y equal 0. And for the y-intercept, it's the opposite. So the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So this is going to be where the graph crosses the y-axis. And we're going to find this by letting x equal 0. By letting x equal 0. So what this means is typically when you have an XY plane where the horizontal axis is called the x-axis and the vertical axis is the y-axis, when you graph any line, it could have a y-intercept, an x-intercept, or both. So let's take a look at this line right here. I don't know what the equation of this line is, but I can tell that it's going to cross the x-axis right here. So I'm going to put a point down. This is called the x-intercept. It's where the graph crosses the x-axis. But I also know that the line is going to cross here at the y-axis. So this point is called the y-intercept. Now, whenever you find the x-intercept, the y-coordinate is always going to equal 0. So you're going to have the point x comma 0, where x is wherever on the x-axis that the line crosses. But the y-intercept is going to be the opposite. The x-coordinate is always going to be 0. So this point is going to be 0 comma y. So that's what we're going to be dealing with today, finding the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts of each graph. Okay. We're going to do the odd numbers on the classwork. So let's start off with number 1. We're given 2x minus 5y equals 10. And I want to find the x-intercept and I want to find the y-intercept. So for the x-intercept, we're going to let y be 0. So that means when I rewrite this equation, I'm going to have 2x minus 5 times 0 equals 10. So I kept everything the same about this equation, except I let this y equal 0. So what is negative 5 times 0? That's going to be 0. So I get 2x minus 0 equals 10. So the minus 0, you can pretend like it doesn't exist. So you're only left with a 2x on the left side. And then the last thing that you want to do to get x by itself is to divide both sides by 2. So that's going to cancel out the 2's on the left side. And then on the right side, I have 10 divided by 2, which is going to be 5. So since x equals 5, we're going to get the point 5 comma 0. Notice that the x value is 5, but the y value is 0. And that comes back to this right here. We're already letting y be 0. So we know that the y coordinate for this point is going to be 0. while x is 5. So now let's do the y-intercept. Let me go ahead and separate this. Now to find the y-intercept, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to let x equal 0. So we're going to get 2 times 0 minus 5y equals 10 from our original equation up here. All I'm doing is I'm letting x equal 0. So 2 times 0 is going to give me 0. The 0 can just be left off. It doesn't matter anymore. And now I have negative 5 times y equals 10. So to get y by itself, I'm going to have to divide both sides by the negative 5. So I do that on both sides. The negative 5s are going to cancel, and it's going to leave me with y equals 10 divided by negative 5, which is negative 2. So I know for a fact that y is going to be equal to negative 2. So when I write my ordered pair, I make it 0, negative 2. Keep in mind that y is negative 2. That's what we solved for. But the x value is 0, and that's because we already assumed over here that x was going to be 0 before we even started. So that's how to find the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts.